Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from Human Events, and you aren't going to believe this, or maybe given the way the world has gone in the last decade or so, maybe you will believe this, but it's entitled Shakespeare's Stratford-upon-Avon to Decolonize over concerns his success benefits the ideology of white European supremacy. So I can tell you right now that whoever is saying this doesn't really know anything about Shakespeare, or is such an ideologue that they've basically gone retarded. And yes, I use that word, find a way to deal with it. So let's go ahead and see what stupidity befalls on us today. And as someone who is a fan of Shakespeare, admittedly haven't read a huge amount of his stuff, but have really, really enjoyed everything I have read, and took a Shakespeare class in college. That's the thing that got me into reading a lot of books about just the history of medieval England. I find something like this particularly offensive. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what retardation awaits. It says the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust has announced plans to change how it presents the legacy of William Shakespeare amid supposed concerns that portraying the legendary playwright as the greatest of all time reinforces the ideology of white European supremacy. Okay, so you people are just dumb. I'm not cutting that cough out. He is the greatest of all time, and that doesn't reinforce anything other than saying he's just really, really good at what he did. Like, that's it. It's the end. There's no supremacist part of that. Okay? If Shakespeare wasn't Shakespeare, was some other color with some other name, people would still call him the greatest of all time too. And no one would be going, well, we need to get rid of that. This actually is racism, but okay. It says the trust, which manages historical buildings in Shakespeare's hometown of Stratford-upon-Avon, says it wants to create a more inclusive museum experience, which, what does that even mean? Anybody can go there, I'm assuming, so how do you get more inclusive than everybody's allowed here? As it claims that some of its collections may contain language or depictions that are racist, sexist, or homophobic, and the depictions benefits the ideology of white European supremacy. I really want to know who's making this decision, because I think they should be Pinochet, if you catch my drift there, because this is ridiculous. Like, okay, you're talking about stories that happened 500 years ago. Things were different then. Okay, I guarantee you things like racism and sexism and homophobia weren't things that were concepts that these people actually thought about at all in any way, shape, or form. Just society was what it was. Okay. So we're trying to say that people, things from 500 years ago, have to abide by the standards that we hold now. This is just dumb. Okay, it's like when you see the trigger warnings on movies from even what was one that had one? I think it was Alien or Aliens had something on there for, I don't remember what, but it was something so stupid it was really? We don't need this stuff. This shouldn't even be a consideration. Anyway, let's keep going before I keep rambling on. It says, this decision follows growing criticism of Shakespeare's legacy, says the Daily Mail. What criticism? Some of his works have been given trigger warnings for misogyny, racism, and what critics call problematic racialized dynamics that associate whiteness with beauty. How about back in, when was he around? It was the late 1500s. I think he died in 1616. I had 1603 in my brain, but I think that's when Elizabeth I died, who was a major patron of his. But I think he wrote from 1581 until he died in 1616. So it was a good, 35 years. I can guarantee you, I'm sure he saw someone that wasn't white in his lifetime, but it was probably a number of times that could be counted on one hand, because there wasn't exactly a large non-white population of London 500 years ago. So, I just don't understand the problematic racialized dynamics. There's a very good chance he only saw white people. So, do people not understand that things were different 500 years ago? And I know the answer to that question is no, they don't understand that. And the trigger warnings are just get over it. Things were different in the past. Okay, if you're going to give it to someone and say, hey, just a heads up, there's, some goofiness in here or something, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But to sit here and tell everybody, just FYI, this guy who lived 500 years ago, he might have had some different thoughts than what we think of today. Well, then don't have your precious little snowflakes read it. Okay, I mean, Jesus H. Christ almighty, grow a friggin' spine. Let's continue on here because I'm already going off on this. I feel like I'm going to go off more. It says in 2022, a research project between the Trust and Dr. Helen Hopkins, no idea who that is, and I'm sure I don't want to know, at the University of Birmingham, argued that Shakespeare's reputation as a universal genius contributes to the ideology of white European supremacy. And there we go. That answers the question. I do not want to know who this woman is. Like I said, Pinochetting her. It says, according to the Telegraph, the project suggested that portraying Shakespeare as a symbol of British cultural superiority has caused harm. How? Explain to me in very small words how. Okay? And I know the article probably isn't. That's fine. It should be up to this woman to explain how does it do that. Instead of just saying that it does, okay, she's playing the trust me bro game. And like people on her side are just going to shake their heads yet and be like, yeah, he totally does. And it's like, but how? That's the only question you need to ask her, and I guarantee you she couldn't answer it. Okay? Or she's basically going to have a Kamala Harris-like reason where you're just going to be like, that made no sense. Continuing on, it says, the research recommended that the Trust stop calling Shakespeare the greatest playwright and instead present him as a part of a global community of writers. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Anybody that happens to listen to this, if you read Shakespeare, you like Shakespeare, continue to call him the greatest playwright. Piss this woman off. Okay? She's a moron. Okay, I don't care if she has a DR period in front of her name. She's stupid. Okay? Continuing on. Woosah. That's what I got to say right now. Woosah. Calm down. Says the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust has since received funding from the Esme Fairbairn Foundation, which funds diversity and inclusion narratives. And there's the problem. Some of its recent programs have highlighted the work of Bengali poet, and I'm going to butcher the utter crap out of this, Rabindranath, I think I did pretty good, Tagore, and included a Romeo and Juliet inspired Bollywood dance workshop. Yeah, I don't care about that. Shakespeare's, and I mean like what I mean to say by I don't care is that Shakespeare's stories are universal. So if you want to go ahead and translate it over to some other culture, fine, not a problem. Okay, not a big deal. So don't care. It says the trust also promised to remove supposed offensive language from its collections. These collections include archived material, literary criticism, books related to Shakespeare, and gifts from around the world given in his honor. And as I'm reading that, I am thinking like I need to go buy that book that's like the complete works of Shakespeare like now. I have some Shakespeare books here. They're the ones that I took from that, or I shouldn't say took. I bought them from that for that college class, and I feel like I need to go and get the complete works or something like that so that at least somebody will have his complete works preserved and people like this aren't trying to erase him. So the statement from the Trust explained, as part of our ongoing work, we've undertaken a project which explores our collections to ensure they are as accessible as possible. They already are, you dumb F word. I'm just going to say that. Sorry, kids. Should have said earmuffs first. It says efforts to decolonize, in quotes, and I like that, the scare quotes, Shakespeare has been growing in recent years because there's a lot of dumb people out there. It says in 2021, the Globe Theatre launched a project examining whether his plays contribute to racism and white supremacy. No, they do not. They are just stories. That is it. It says the London Theatre, a reconstruction of the Elizabethan playhouse where Shakespeare worked, has since hosted anti-racist seminars on the topic. Anti-racist basically is just racism by another name, so don't say it's anti-racist. They are racist. Some scholars argue that all of Shakespeare's works are race plays because they contain whiteness. Oh no, white people are in things. And again, for people out there that are going to argue that this being anti-racist means you're against racism, well, here's the debunking of that is right here in this first sentence. Like, imagine if this word white, just the white part of this, was exchanged with black. You'd be sitting there going, oh my God, that is racist. Well, yeah, it's racist when it's white people too. Congratulations, you can be racist against white people. This isn't a difficult concept to understand. And the people saying stuff like this are people that should never be allowed in positions of power. Okay, in Britain, you're killing your country. Finally, last sentence here, it says, meanwhile, a number of academics in the U.S. have stopped teaching Shakespeare in schools because they're dumb, claiming that his works promote racism, white supremacy, and intolerance. Okay, you guys are dumb. Teach Shakespeare. Okay, at no point in the college class that I took, and keep in mind, I went to college in Chicago. Okay, for like when I took this class, it was a university that was affiliated in, or that was based in Chicago, but where I went was in the suburbs of Chicago, still the same university, just a different area. So you're talking about a very, very liberal place. This would have been back in 2000. Okay, so things would have been a little different then, but at the same time, like, You don't think my teacher would have said something like that? And it never came up. Never. Okay, so these progressives that are saying stuff like this, just shut the hell up. Get a life. Okay? Like, go fight an actual battle that's worth fighting, because this is not. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going on and ranting about this if I don't stop now. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.